I drive a Ferrari 355 Cabriolet. What's up? I have a ridiculous house in the South Fork. I have every toy you can possibly imagine. And best of all, kids, I am liquid. So, now you know what's possible. Let me tell you what's required.
Life advice, rr@gmail.com. So let's get to it. Okay. 6'1", 190. I've been weight training for 25 years and compete in bodybuilding for 6 years with a couple of first-place trophies. I was always the fat kid growing up and was around 5'9", 230 at the start of high school. Wow. Thick. I have body dysmorphia and probably overtrain. That body dysmorphia thing is crazy, dude. Crazy. You could just be like, hey, I look terrible today. And then the next day you're like, oh, I look good. It's crazy. It's crazy stuff out there. He says he probably overtrains, but I have a year-round six-pack, so now I have that going for me. Shaking my head. All right. I moved to L.A. nearly a decade ago and had a decent success. Had some decent success in the entertainment industry. When I first moved here, I started at the very bottom and did a lot of background and acting, extra work, YouTube videos, student films, just paying my dues and busting my ass. The friends that I made were also at the very bottom, and I assumed we'd all work our way up the ladder together. As the years go by, the divide is clearly getting bigger as that crew is still at the bottom with no signs of success. We still get together for holidays, some hangouts. I find myself growing apart and going to less events with the group. A few years ago, one female in particular who was at every event repeatedly told me I acted like I was better than everyone. This really caught me off guard because everyone else in my life tells me I'm super nice and humble. Insert, you think you're better than me in thick Boston accent. Sorry, that's Simmons show. I barely see this group anymore. I found myself not even want to discuss what I'm working on because I don't want anyone to feel bad. Last year at Thanksgiving, someone asked me about a TV show they saw me on a while ago, and I was telling the story. I looked over at the girl, and she rolled her eyes and says to the person next to her, there he goes talking about himself again. It's a good party. Due to the COVID deal, the hangouts became nearly non-existent. But with the world opening back up, the invitations starting to come back to add even more awkwardness. The guy who always hosts Thanksgiving is one of my best friends, but he befriends all of my girlfriends and continues the friendship after we break up. I hope your friends don't listen to the podcast here because you're going to be fucked if they do. But we're going to keep grinding through here. I'm going to defer to you because you're a little bit older and maybe you've already thought about that. So let me get this straight. Your friend who's really close friend zones all of the girls that you've dated. So he's saying this email just keeps dropping more and more facts on us. There's been as many as 5 women that I've had previous relations with at the same party. I'm not a playboy by any means, but I've typically dated 2 to 3 girls a year over the last decade, and it adds up. Sure does. I've tried to talk to him about it, but he laughs it off and avoids the conversation. I mean, look, we just get to it. If there's 5 girls that have all dated you at the same party, no wonder no one likes you. I mean, I don't even know. We'll get to all the other stuff, but that math has never worked, ever. No one's like, hey, I'm psyched. There's this guy that slept with like 5 of us. He's here again. So I'm not a playboy by any means, but I have typically, all right. I've tried to talk about him. I'm very non-confrontational, so I don't push. I just cut and run and never see this entire group again. Just thinking about spending Thanksgiving with them makes me feel sick, and it's months away. Yeah, it's months away. All right. We've done 8 years in a row at this place. It's hard to make friends as adults. It is. And this group has been my go-to since I moved here. I do one-on-ones and small gatherings with certain people I want to keep a relationship, but it always gets back to the others that weren't invited, and I hear about it. It feels like high school. We're all late 30s and 40s. I'm getting too old for this shit. In the entertainment world, we do this terrible thing where someone asks you, how you doing? You immediately start giving your resume to justify your worth. I'm very proud of my achievements and don't want to feel like a cocky prick when I talk about my experiences and accomplishments. I hate to think I have to censor myself to dumb it down for others who have insecurity issues, but I certainly don't want to make people feel bad for their lack of success in the same industry. Any advice or words of wisdom? And he sent us a pic. He's ripped up, man. Shout out to our guy. Yeah. So there's a lot to unpack here. As the great philosopher Mark once told me, and it's true to this day, most people are not rooting for you 100%. And honestly, you could probably make that a bigger observation. You could just say most people actually aren't rooting for you. I know that sounds shitty, and we hope it isn't true. But in the entertainment industry and this kind of stuff, like that's why I always think social media is so funny when I'll see certain people be like, oh, you go get them. you're next queen, or yes, young king. And you're like, nah, you actually talked shit about this person 2 months ago to me on a phone call. Like you didn't even like them. And now you're just trying to be part of the congratulatory parade from media people on social media, and you're full of shit. And so, people do not root for you. Maybe you're really nice. Maybe you actually do root for everyone else. I would say now that I'm over it, I certainly want to see how my friends do really well. People that I don't have a relationship with, I'm probably indifferent. I don't know that I'm necessarily rooting against anybody, but when I was younger, yeah, if I'd heard about somebody getting an opportunity that I'd want, you'd be like, fuck, because it's really hard. It's really competitive. So you're in an industry where it's predisposed, where people are not going to be thrilled for you getting these other opportunities and then doing better than them. I mean, they're just not. It'd be nice if that's not how it worked, but let's be honest with ourselves. This is exactly what it is. So none of this should be surprising. And I think you probably already know that part of it. Now, as far as like talking about yourself, look, I had a stretch earlier on when I first started at ESPN, and I would tell stories about it. And I had one specific friend who actually called me out and was like, hey, you kind of talk about yourself a lot. First of all, I'm by myself all the time and have been for too long. So then once I talk to people, I would probably update them on me, because I would think that, hey, it's kind of cool. I'm working at ESPN. Let me tell you some of these cool stories that have happened. That was still self-centered. I'm certainly not a narcissist, but there's a healthy ego when you have this. And so when I finally started feeling proud of myself, even though it took me up to like early 30s about some of the stuff I was doing, not every friend I was sharing it with was actually fired up. They were kind of like, oh, Russillo's talking about himself again. So it happened to me. Now, what happened that was really messed up is that one of my closest friends, he actually said, like, hey, guys are talking about you behind your back and they're a little sick of it. And he started naming names. And I was devastated. I was like, oh, shit, like this, I don't want to be that guy. Like, that sucks. And look, I can have a little storytelling in me, and I can obviously talk about myself more than I probably should. And that's, look, it's also a podcast too. So that goes with it. But off the air, that's definitely true too. And I try to remind myself of that sometimes, but I'll check in with friends and make sure I ask about their family. But usually if I'm checking in, I'll have like something that I want to tell them. But sometimes I have to remind myself of that, have more self-awareness, and I don't always do the greatest job with it. I'll admit it. Okay. So the reason I'm bringing this up is that my friend lied about it. None of my other friends complained about me at all, ever, never. Okay. And so I was like, hey, so-and-so said that, that I was talking about. And they were like, dude, no, not even close. And it wasn't them denying it. They were laughing hysterically. They were like, that's him. He's the only person that has a hang up on it. And honestly, they were just guys that are older than you that were used to you being a loser and have a harder time accepting the fact that you're not a loser anymore. And that's what that's all about. So don't ever listen to him. I didn't say it. The other person didn't say it. That's 100% on him. And then I could tell, like, the guy regretted saying it because he didn't just say it to me. He also lied about other guys being annoyed about me. So, I mean, that's just how stupid all of this shit can be. So, you bring up another point, and this happens in a lot of the emails, that, I don't want to just cut everybody off. I can't fathom going to a party where it had been 5 girls that I dated throughout my life and then being like, hey, this is going to be awesome. So really, the other person's issues with you, like, first, I wouldn't even want to go. So I don't even know why you would go to that anymore. And yeah, it sucks. Like, keep doing the one-on-ones. And if other people feel left out, they can feel left out. But if you're going to sit there and talk shit about me, and maybe your version of this is inaccurate. Maybe you do talk about yourself all the time. Maybe you do come off as you're better than everybody else. I mean, I don't know. I'm only reading the email, but we'll try to default to that you do have self-awareness and that it isn't awful and that these people are jealous and pissy, because that's also a very real possibility. But why would you want to go anywhere where people would say this kind of stuff to you? And honestly, like, if the girl kept doing it, there's nothing wrong with going, hey, do I bother you? And just call her out right at the dinner table in front of everybody else, because you're going to get a real correction real fucking quick when you do that. Because it's like, oh, you're going to push. Well, now you're going to get a reaction. It's like, okay, so what is it that I do that bothers you? Like, and let's hash this out. And then maybe she'll be right and you'll want to apologize. But it sounds like you don't want to hang out with any of these people anymore anyway. So keep doing the one-on-ones. I can't in a million years, even if I loved every guy that was at this deal, wanted to be around 5 people that I had dated at some point, because they're talking shit about you. They just are. So I don't know if that's why you also have this other layer of people thinking that you come off as you're better than everybody else. And you say, like, hey, I'm not really a playboy. Almost none of us are ever going outside in any social gathering where it's 5 women that we've dated. No, it doesn't happen. Like James Bond doesn't have those kinds of numbers in scenes of a movie. So you're setting yourself up here where you're never going to be received that great at any kind of gathering. And it kind of sucks, honestly, I think, that your friend keeps doing this to you. But he probably is doing it to increase his own odds, and then probably feels like as the friend, he can sidle up to one of them that feels burnt by you. And maybe he's talking shit about you. So honestly, I doubt I made you feel better at all. I probably made you feel worse, but that's kind of the way. That's when I read it. These are all the, yeah. That's kind of like, I'm not mad at the email about any of this stuff. It's just, I don't think we're in certain industries, especially the one that you're in. If you're doing better than the rest of them, like they're not saying, hey, he's more talented, he deserves it, he worked harder. To be like, oh, well, he just got lucky on that one deal, and then he knows this one person because they went to high school together and all this different shit. I mean, it's back to the old deal. Like when you see a guy who's a 5 with a knockout, first thing you say, like, oh, I bet his dad has money. We don't go, hey, I bet he's really nice. I bet he's incredibly caring. I bet he's an awesome dad. I bet you he puts her thoughts and feelings first every single day, and he's an incredible life partner. We'll just be like, oh, I bet his dad has a ton of cash. They got a place in the Hamptons, I bet. That's just what we do. We're not great with that stuff. Kyle?
There was a lot of stuff in this email, but I would say a couple things. I would say, A, this is what you get for moving to LA. Probably live in Los Feliz, take a big sniff and smell the desperation all around you. One of the reasons
in the crosshairs.
One of the reasons I'm thinking about moving back home at some point. That's one thing for sure. And like, congrats to you. You said you're a good breaker upper. So am I. Like, I'll never bother you. And like, I won't show up. I won't send you texts. I won't, like 9 of your Instagram photos. But then you can't like do it again in the friend group. So, I mean, it sounds like he was bragging about being good at like cutting and running and, not being clingy and making their lives weird. But then you did it again like 5 more times in the friend group. So just fucking strange. Those are the only 2 things I have to say. But it comes with the territory.
It also sounds like he needs to date outside of this group of people. Why is he dating the same?
Well, I think what's happening is he's bringing these girls by, and then the guy
and then they become part of the crew. That's an incredible, I guess, skill by his friend to like add ex-girlfriends to this clique every single time. But the other thing too is he seemed kind of. It seemed like it was do I have friends that are shitty or do I have no friends at all? Like that's his sort of conundrum. And I honestly don't know what's worse. I don't know. Like I really don't. So I hate to say I don't have an answer there, but that seems like the dilemma. I would say, Ryan, you seem like the kind of guy who doesn't want shitty friends and would just be like, I'd rather be alone. But there are some people that like feel like they need camaraderie and need people around them, even if those people are toxic and bad for your life.
Yeah, I would not advise anyone to do the lonely solo mission thing because we get other emails being like, you seem really happy and content with everything. I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't really advise this for anybody else. I mean, it's getting kind of old, to be honest with you. Because I was always thinking career first, grind. Who cares? The rest of the stuff will sort itself out. And then you're just like, all right, yeah, but you keep missing out of these experiences because all you're doing is like just working the whole time. So that's a whole nother. I'm not writing an email to myself here on the show. But you're right. I wouldn't put up with like, I don't know. I don't want to be hanging out with guys that, I mean, first of all, I have a hard time. Like if I don't know you, I'm just going to assume like you're going to want something, and that's not cool. That's not fair. I mean, this is a whole nother topic, so we're just going to get off of it. But I think it's shitty that one of your best friends, the guy in the deal, keeps friending up all of the girls that you've dated. So now, I mean, I'm just telling you, I don't care who you are. The success rate at that party for a guy to like roll through and 5, like they're all talking about you, they're all dumping on you because you present it as if you're one of them breaking up with them all the time too. I mean, who would, I can't fathom wanting to go to a party with 5 girls that I dumped.
I actually think it'd be fun to do one time.
One time. Yeah. One time, Kyle. Okay.
Do it for the story. Yeah. But that's about it.
Let's get to another one. Oh, this one I kind of like. This one was good. A little different. Okay. 6'3", 225. Names have been changed. All right. Guys are catching on. By the way, that last guy, if there's any chance anyone else, he doesn't have to worry about it anymore because he's not going to get invited to anything. All right. My buddy Jay and I have season tickets to our local MLS team. We both used to go to most games together. Sometimes he would buy my ticket and vice versa if life got in the way. We would take someone else with us. Jay moved to a different state this year since COVID killed most of his job opportunities, so I decided to buy out a season ticket, have 2 tickets to myself. Last year, there's no issue since games had no fans, but this year I decided to take either my girlfriend or a friend of mine to each game. I've been asking different friends so that I can catch up with them. I've taken a specific friend, let's call him Dave, multiple times since he's really fun to go to games with, sings all the songs. We trade buying rounds, and he's just a fun dude to go to sports events with. Man, Dave sounds great. Good for you and Dave. He's hinted at wanting that second season ticket from me, and it'd be cool to make going to the games with him a regular thing. I've been with my girlfriend. Let's call her Sandy. You don't hear a lot of girls named Sandy anymore.
It's an older name for sure. My grandma's Sandy.
Really?
Yeah.
Greece, yeah. Right?
8th grade was for me, was a Sandy. Wasn't real serious. 13. Anyway, for almost 5 years now, he's been with Sandy. We live together. She's an awesome partner. The problem is she's kind of not amazing to go to sporting events with, especially soccer. She played varsity and keeps on making remarks during the game that are a bit of a buzzkill. Okay, varsity what? College or high school?
That seems high school. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So she played varsity in high school is what we're going with here. What, maybe not. She constantly mentions how women's soccer is better, tougher, or less floppy. She gets upset when the crowd insults, boos, or makes fun of an opposing player. She likes playing sports, but doesn't really enjoy watching them. While the current season is only halfway done, I've already put down the deposit for next season. Currently, my girlfriend's work schedule is such that she can't even make half the games, so taking friends half the time works out. But that is probably going to change to such that she can make most games. I'm not dumb enough to just tell her you're a buzzkill at these games. Smart. But how do I navigate making these season tickets a thing for just me and my buddy, where I can maybe take my girlfriend for a game or two during the season? Since there's good availability, I do try to get to 3 since there is usually good availability, I do try to get 3 to 4 season tickets. And all right. This is the other part of the question. Should I try to get 3 to 4 season tickets and make it a group thing with more people to offset both sides and make good money so I can pay for the extra season ticket for her? Telling her that I can only afford one, and that's why Dave needs to buy one off of me won't work. Any ideas would be great. This is a tough one. I mean, you're already smart enough to not, you can't tell her. You can never say, hey, you suck to watch games with. And if she doesn't get that, like, you're going to get mad every time the opposing team is booed or somebody says something, like, that's just, I'm not saying it's cool, but that's going to a live event. And then if she's giving you a lecture on why women's soccer is better the entire game, and we're not debating that here on the podcast, but that would get old. That would probably get old after a little while. It sounds like he said he could afford the extra tickets, but I'm just wondering, like, if you got 4 season tickets, how many MLS games in a season, Cerruti? Is it 20, 30?
It's all summer, so yeah, probably between 20 to 30. Then there's the playoffs, yeah.
All right, so 15 games, says he can swing it. That's my question, though. Is she more inclined to be cooler as a fan if there's more people involved? Because that was the first thing I thought of. And if he said he could swing it, yeah, maybe just do 4 tickets, and then you're always inviting other people to kind of group it up. Or, if she does this all the time, she's probably going to do it that way too. I don't really know what to do. Probably have to get a divorce. I'm just kidding.
What's that? There you go.
That's it. Oh, they're not even married. So there you go.
34 games, by the way. So it's actually more than you would think.
Okay. Well, still, we're not way off there. 17 home games. That's a tough one. Cause I look, male, female, whatever. I can't. It's not fun to go to games with people that just don't like, vibe is maybe not the right word, but it kind of is the right word, where you just like, where are you at with it? And, sometimes you'll go to games with people. Our favorite thing to do, we used to do, game day sidelines for all those years, is every time somebody made a play, we would tap McShay and be like, first rounder. And it was so fucking annoying.
Sure, because that, yeah.
Well, because everybody else did it to him in like a serious way. Like there'd be other guys and they'd be looking at him and be like, hey, that left tackle, like he's pretty good. Like, what kind of grade do you have on him? And McShay would have to like seriously engage the whole thing. So Stanford Steve and I would just do it. Every time a guy made a catch, we'd just be like, he's got to be a second rounder, right? And he just, of course, McShay would just be so fucking annoyed the whole time. And so, yeah, like that's obviously a very specific, very different way of doing it. Go ahead, Cerruti. What do you got for this one?
No, I mean, I think soccer is maybe one of the most important sports where camaraderie and who you go with and who's around you is very important. Because this guy's talking about how, his buddy's fun to go out with. He knows the chance. That's a big deal in soccer circles. Because so clearly they're like very invested and involved in the fandom, right? If it's a baseball game, you go, you sit, you have some beers. NFL is kind of less fan experience-y. It's more just about the game. I would say the MLS and soccer in general, like you need to like who you're going with. And if your person is always a downer, then you're not going to have a good time ever. So, and then the other problem would be if you do end up buying the extra couple of season tickets, she's still there and she's still going to be saying the same shit, but she's going to be doing it in front of your friends and bringing everybody else down too. So I don't know if that's actually the solution. I think you kind of just have to confront her and be like, hey, do you actually like soccer? Do you like going to games? No. I am very much Ryan, you said this like in the last email. You said you got to confront someone.
That was someone at a dinner party. He's not marrying that person. Like, but this is a problem.
But it's going to bother you. So why don't you say, hey, like totally okay if you don't want to go to these games. If you don't like going, it's fine. I'll take my buddy. But like, I like to have a good time. It's really important to me. And just stress to her how important it is to you that you like doing the chants. You like having beers. You like having a good time and don't want to talk about how annoying everything is. And, if she's really offended by that, then that's kind of a red flag anyway.
What if you did the switcheroo and like sort of like Indiana Jones when he puts the sandbag down on the thing where he takes the idol? What if he's like, and here's Dodgers games instead? That'll be our new thing. I mean, I don't know what city they're in, but if they have an MLS team, maybe they have a baseball team too. So you could be like, you know what? I think let's do baseball games. And then you can, give your buddy the other season ticket, and then now you bring her to baseball games, or I don't know what city you're in, maybe basketball games. I don't know. But maybe not something she thinks she can do herself.
Yeah, no, Kyle, I think you're actually on to something, but I'm gonna see, maybe you're right. Maybe is there any way you could say, hey, I'm saving for like, well, I don't know if you want to say, hey, I'm saving for a ring. If you've been with her 5 years, you're probably going to marry her, I imagine here. And if this is like the worst part of the relationship, that's not very bad, right? And you have to also remember that maybe she doesn't even see it that way. She's just so thrilled to spend time with you, right? And she's doing it, but it would get annoying. Like, I wouldn't want to hang out with anyone, male or female, that was going to sit there and just kind of not get the crowd. Like, why are they booing? Don't they understand? Like, I played, none of you guys could play.
You didn't.
Yeah. And you just be like 10 minutes into it. You'd be like, hey, look, this is not the way this works. All right. Could our emailer ask his friend to buy the season tickets, and then he says to the Sandy, like, hey, I'm saving for something? I mean, again, you would have to buy the thing you were saving for eventually. You could say you were saving for a boat. You could say you were saving for a ring. You could say you were saving for a summer house. But again, I don't know how well you're doing, because then it'd be like, well, what are you talking about? Like, we're not getting MLS tickets, so in 20 years, you can get us a summer house in Wilmington. So my point would be, is there any way to justify not using any income on this, but then having Dave buy the tickets, and then now they're Dave's tickets, they're not your tickets? Yeah. And then that way Dave is inviting you, and then when Dave never invites your girlfriend, like, that's on Dave. It's not on you anymore. That's the only thing I could think of here that would make sense. And who knows, she might say, like, there's also a version of this where she doesn't like going so much that she thinks she's doing you the favor.
Yeah.
By going.
That's what I'm saying. Confront her. Maybe she just doesn't want to go, and she's doing it, and she's annoyed every time she has to go. So if you actually bring that conversation to her, she's like, thank God you said something. I hate soccer. I hate going to soccer games. Go with Dave.
Confront is just a strong word, Cerruti. I don't know.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's a strong word to then go back and sleep in the same bed.
Maybe not confront, just ease the conversation in, and just see what comes out of it.
It sounds like you want him to chirp his girlfriend. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not saying come in there like,
what's your problem, bro?
I'm not saying come in there guns blazing hostile, but just make it known that you like this thing. But I do think, Ryan, your solution actually does make a lot of sense. The only thing is, then does Dave start asking other people, and you don't get to go to as many games as you want to go to? I don't know. This have to be a pact with Dave.
Yeah, this guy, clearly the emailer, really likes going to soccer games. This sentence is just so great. The problem is that she is kind of not amazing to go to sporting events with, especially soccer. All right, so he said sporting events, and then especially soccer. So this is...
Dodgers are out. Yep.
Well, yeah, she has strong opinions on soccer, it sounds like. Maybe there was just,
Well, she played varsity.
That's right. What I'm saying. I mean, I played varsity football as well. I'm not critiquing pull blocks. I don't know.
Yelling at officials.
Yeah, there's something weird that happens with us. And, I've said this about sports forever, but people are so comfortable talking about sports and having no idea what they're talking about. And it's just our desire to be involved in a way that helps us stand out. And, look, it's a very small thing. Like for Sandy, for this to be a hang up about Sandy, it's a very, very small thing. But you're right. You got to know her. You got to know her well enough. And if she played varsity, she's probably pretty aggressive. So she might not like this if you were like, hey, do you want to go to these games anymore? Because you suck to sit next to. I would not phrase it that way. But yeah, this one's kind of tough, man. This one's kind of tough. Good luck with that one. All right, that was Life Advice. Hit us up, lifeadvicerr@gmail.com. Make sure you check out Bill Simmons, his feed, and then it'll be off of the Ringer feed as well, and I'll tweet it out at Ryen A. Russillo. We're going to just go live at the start of the NBA draft. We talked about this for certain times, and we just felt like, hey, we can do a really good job of the coverage. So, you want to check us out. We'll be reacting to the picks, hopefully have some info on some of the stuff. And, I know that Kevin puts a ton of work into it. And, I've gotten caught up here for quite a bit of the guys. So anyway, check us out. Draft night will be good to go. And then that will be released as, I think, a multi-part podcast as well. So again, Thursday night. So thanks for listening to the Ryen Russillo podcast. Thanks to Steve and Kyle. And we'll be back on Thursday night.